show because what I'm able to do is to increase your transformation in life and make sure that you are doing better in life. Interviewing authors, leaders, and change riskers who are going to give you the wisdom and practical tools you'll need to survive. What if the very challenges meant to hold you back became the foundation of your calling? Andrew Calderella is a living proof that adversity can be reshaped into purpose. Andrew is the CEO and founder of Consulting Ace Inc., where for now over 26 years he has guided organizations from startups to global enterprises in achieving growth, efficiency, and sustainable success. Andrew is the author of The 7 Revolutionary Steps to Living a Meaningful Life and Making a Real Difference in the World, a book that you've got to pick up. In this episode, Andrew shares his personal adversities became stepping stones to his larger mission. Call to action, yes, you can reach out to him at businessconsultingace.com, 7-Way Me, and also he'll give you some contact information. Andrew will implement balance in your business, share his inspiring journey with your audience, and also guide to the principles of the way everlasting success. So with that, I want to welcome Andrew to the program. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Great to be here. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you, Mick, for having me on your show.
You bet. You know, you got a fascinating background. I wonder if you could just touch on one part of that fascinating background to let people know a little bit of who and what you are.
Oh gosh, sure. A lot of people want to hear about where I started, and I think it kind of tells the story. I was born in 1966 to parents that were fighting for the civil rights movement. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and I was born with dyslexia and other learning disabilities, and it really did shape my life. I was mocked, and I had a teacher tell me I was too stupid to learn anything. Grade, kind of mocking you in front of the whole class doesn't do great things for your self-esteem. But it wasn't for my mother, I probably never would have made it. And she was the one that kept telling me that, you actually have gifts. And later I was tested out to be genius level thinking in a lot of different areas. But it doesn't mean I could do math or, the dyslexic things really shows when you're really young, because it's all about spelling and math and all the rest. But I did overcome that, and I graduated from high school and went on to college, got 3 degrees, speech communications, theology, and philosophy. And it's been a journey of really self-discovery, trying to overcome the initial societal type programming to realizing that I am a good person. I'm okay. Just because people are mocking you and telling you you're stupid doesn't mean you are. So I had to kind of figure all that stuff out, and it really did set me on my life's journey to figure out how we can become our best people, what the problems are in the society, and how we can fix them. And that's where the way came about. Kind of 30 whatever plus years worth of research gone into this topic. So,
and it's very insightful. Yeah. So I'm curious, like with some of these disabilities, and then when it comes to writing, what's your writing style and where did you write and how did you go about doing that?
Gosh, it was really kind of crazy, honestly, because I started when I was really, really young, just asking major questions and trying to figure out answers to them. Like, why are we here? Who is God? All these kind of things. And it took me down a path of discovery, a lot of spiritual experiences, studied all the faiths in the world and all the philosophies. My writing style is really just taking endless notes. They occur to me at any moment. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'd be driving down the road. I mean, it's crazy. And then you have to do a lot of research, because I found that a lot of times I'll have an idea, but I don't know enough about biology or sociology or whatever it is to really understand it. So then you've gone years worth of deep research to figure out the answers that you're trying to seek. And so my style was a little crazy. And because of my dyslexia, everything I write is often backwards, everything's misspelled. And it takes a long time to make it into something that people can actually read. And this was before AI, so I didn't have an AI helper. I'm not sure I would use it other than to help me refine some sentence structures now, but I really do feel like the pursuit of knowledge and you using your brain to find those answers is a lot of times you find these epiphanies along the way. Just quickly, when I discovered the way, I did 30 years worth of research, and there was this moment, it was actually Good Friday, and I took the day off and I was working on sorting out the beginning and ending of this major work. I called it the book. It was literally like probably 30 volumes. It was huge. And I kept finding these references to, this is key to true success. This is key to true success. And I put all these together and I kept working on them and I put them in an order. And it was like a light bulb went off. I discovered the way. I could see how a lot of the knowledge that I had, not everything, but a good chunk of it could fit into this 7-step guide on how to walk people through on how we can become our best. And the whole idea here is that if we're going to create a better world and we're going to be our best selves, we do this within a society, within a framework. So you're not isolated. You have to not only become your best, but you also have to participate in this world. So the idea of the way was how we could all kind of walk through these certain steps to get on the same page, build a foundation together to where we could tackle greater problems.
So there's 7 ways, and that is the way. So I'm curious, could you tell us what are those things? What are the secrets of life?
Well, sure. I start off really basic. So the idea of the first 3 steps is really just to get us on the same idea of why we're here to some degree and what the focus is of the book. So the first step is to know what? To know the good. So we all innately know what good is. Like if you look at it, you know that love is better than being hated. Clean water is better than poison water. And you go down the list and you can see that we're innately built to want the good, right? And that's the next step. So it's know, want, and choose are the first 3 steps. So when you find this idea that we all innately, and a lot of times, especially when we get older, we know what the good is, but we also innately want it. You want it for yourself, your loved ones, the society you live in. And that core understanding is what can lead us to the choices that we make. And that third step is really important because it's not enough just to know and want something. You have to literally make a choice in your life and then take steps to realize that. You don't necessarily have to know what the steps are at that point, but you need to make that choice inside yourself that, yes, I do want to be a good person. I would like to participate in society in a positive way. So those are the first 3 steps. And we can go through the rest of them too, if you'd like, but that kind of gets us started at least.
Yeah, I was curious, maybe because you've done a lot of research and reading in philosophy and theology as you go through the way. Are there some philosophers or theologians or particular thinkers you would say that you identified with or you advocate?
Absolutely. And I'm really bad at remembering all the names, especially when you call me on it. But I will say I've studied all the philosophies, especially the major ones, and religions in the world. And what is interesting is when you do that, you find commonalities between them. One of them that is clear as day is the idea of the golden rule. You could say this in many different ways. It's been said in every philosophy and major religion throughout time. And it's the idea of treating others as you want to be treated. This doesn't mean like if you like chocolate that everybody that you know then gets chocolate. It means considering them, right? Considering their desires, wants, but also in a more broad sense, treating people humanely. It's funny that the word humane is based on human, and we often use it when we're talking about animals, but we need to talk about it when we're talking about each other. Treating each other humanely. Level playing fields, equal laws for everybody, the right to, or the facility and the ability to rise up and become the best person you can, participate in society in the right way. A lot of circumstances that we see in the world right now where people are like, they're considered bad people or they're not as intelligent and all the rest. You just look at how they're raised and their society that they have. You could take somebody that's from the most, benefited family in the world, has the greatest opportunities and everything. You take that child and you put them in a horrible place, they're not going to grow up and be that same person. So our goal is to create a world to where the children that are born here have an opportunity to become their best and not just diminish them and say that they're lesser because they were born in a place that doesn't have all those facilities.
Yeah, it makes sense to refresh your memory a little bit. It does sound like Rousseau, because he says, man is born free, but everywhere I look, I see he is in chains. And it's in chains to culture and places where they grew up, basically their environment.
Yeah, we're all molded by that. And that's where I couldn't just make the way about us internally, which is the first place we need to start. But like step 4 is centering yourself in this core belief system, the idea of we all have a core belief system. We all often don't know what they are. We don't share it as a commonality between humanity. But if we did, I call it the 10 laws in the book, if we kind of all were able to group around these 10 laws and understand them, it would allow us to at least have a center that we can all kind of start from. Step 5 is about It's called Be. It's about being the way, like your way. It's about integrating these key virtues and best practices into your life so you can become your best person. And we talk about how to integrate that through your daily way and using a habit focus list and all these different avenues. But step 6 is unite. And that's where we talk about society and how we can unite together to create a better one. But also it outlines how the society works to some degree and what it is we're after. And then step 7 is about perfecting everything, and constantly renewal and looking for ways to improve, as well as just keeping the good, right? Because nothing lasts forever, and if you don't work at it, I don't care if it's a relationship, it could be a painting from a master, in a museum. If you don't put that behind glass and take care of it, it's going to degrade. The same thing is with yourself. So the idea of perfection is keeping what is good, and also making things better.
So it starts from within. It starts with the person, but then it kind of grows out into community in the world. So you have both a
Absolutely.
personal and then a worldly transformation in mind. So
Absolutely.
7 steps to the way. Now, I'm curious how you transition those and maybe adapt those ideas for what you do professionally, because this is part of your practice and part of your consulting.
Yeah, absolutely. So my consulting business, Consulting Ace, I've been doing that for, like you mentioned, now it's 20, I would say 25 years, but I guess you're right, we're up to 26. Um, that, I mean, how do I say this? So when I go into a company and they hire me for one problem, there's obviously a lot of other problems in a company. And so the main focus of my first step in helping them is to figure out how we can optimize their core systems to make those better, and also find time and money within them so they can do these other projects. A lot of small businesses, medium sized, and even large ones, that is a struggle for them because they have shareholders, or they have budgets and all these things, and they're like, well, where do I get all this extra money to open a new office, to hire these people, to do what I need to do? And if you can optimize like your government tax incentives and credits, your credit cards, your benefits for your employees, and all these different things, they can make you money, save you money. I saved one company over $1 million just in credit card processing fees. They said that would have taken them about $30 million in clients to make that in profit. And they just did that by optimizing one system. And again, there's government tax incentives and credits. There's a whole bunch of other ones. The benefits programs are awesome. There's this new one where you can bring on a wellness benefit to your company. It's like health insurance. They give you discounts. Bring on a wellness benefit to help you not use your health insurance. It can save you like $640 per employee per year, plus workers' comp savings, life insurance and health insurance, and all sorts of other savings and abilities. And it really is a way for your company to not only retain more employees, employer satisfaction, less sick days, which makes your employees happier, makes your company better, and it saves you money. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Anyway, there's a lot of those, and that's the first step. The second step then is to get into the big things that they want to do. But you mentioned the book and how that works. When you're dealing with high-level executives, often what I find is they don't have a sounding board that somebody can help them with all the different pieces of their company. They might have a finance guy and a tech guy and all of this, but they don't have a guy to help them put it all together, or a woman, sorry, I don't mean to be sexist like that. But the idea is that they need somebody that's not, nobody can be the jack of all trades. So I make the joke, I'm the ace who knows all the jacks in all the trades you need to know to help make, save, and recover money to optimize your business. So they use me as a sounding board. And when you get into that, you start talking to them about their life and their family and everything else. And what I found is, and I always say this, business is not separated from your life, right? If you're having problems with your wife or your child, it's coming and affecting your business. So if we can optimize your business, we can also optimize your life and help you figure out ways to be healthier, take those breaks during the day, text your wife, making sure you're in touch with your kids, and all the rest of the pieces that will make you a happier person and also make your business better. So I do take a holistic approach, and it gets a little complicated, but life is complicated, and we just break it down. I think that's the benefit is using somebody like me, is that I can look at it all and say, well, let's start here. These are the low-hanging fruit. These are the biggest problems. Here's the solution. Let's look at these and implement them as quickly as possible, and then we'll get on to the rest. If that makes sense.
It does, and I always can identify, because I would always say with a CEO or a business leader, It's lonely at the top. And I think that's what you're describing, because they have compartments and departments, and that's how a business is thought of. We've got sales, we've got marketing, we've got HR, but how about that one person who can be your trusted advisor, and person who understands or synthesizes the entire operation? And there's
Yeah.
definitely connection between your personal life and your business life. So what kind of companies do you work with, or is there some that you favor, particular industry size, or things that you could say along those lines?
Yeah, depends on the service, but most of them are 20 employees or more. I tend to work with little larger businesses on some of the bigger projects, but I also do coaching personally. It just depends on the situation. I don't have a set, system. I can adapt it and customize it to the need. So, it's pretty open in that respect. But generally, it's a little larger companies, sometimes in the hundreds, if not thousands of members, depending on the service I have. It works for some, and others it just doesn't because of the size.
So what are some typical companies, or maybe some success stories that you can share, that you said this is what you've applied the way and something benefited, or a company or individuals? Because there is personal success and business success, because I believe they are
Yeah.
intertwined, just as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, to give you one example, I mean, there's so many. Like I have this gentleman. He runs a successful company. He was a financial advisor. He has a plastics business, other ones, and he wanted some help with his business, obviously, and just different pieces of it, CRMs, and how to manage different aspects of it. But his personal life had a lot of issues, and it was mainly around his health. He had a new child and his wife, and he was a little older. And he wanted to be there for him, and he had all these worries. So what I did is I helped him understand, one, you're human, so he was really hard on himself, and two, just going through how to optimize his sleep patterns, his food intake, his meditation, his workouts, all of these things, so he was able to get a more balanced life. And seriously, within just a few months, I mean, he went to the doctor and had all these tests and his high blood pressure and all these problems, to being able to get rid of those and not having to take any medications to do it. And now, he's much more balanced and uh, proceeding on his business. And then there's a whole bunch of other stories where people have read the way or talked to me about the different principles in it, and just gained a better understanding of why you're here. A lot of young people too experience anxiety, because it took me a long time. When I was young, I always wanted to know, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? How do I be my best? What are all these answers? And then, 20, 25, 30, whatever. And you're like, oh, I just found another answer. Oh, I just found another one. It's like, why isn't this distilled so we can get it when we're really young? If you can bring up your kids with the best information, the best habits, all the best practices as their fundamental way of doing things, then they don't have to relearn it going along. And when I talk to younger people, they appreciate that, because they want all these answers, but they don't know how to do it, and they don't want to spend 100 years trying to figure it all out like I did.
What was the chronology? Did you write the book and then have the business? Or were you writing while you were assisting companies? What was the
Yeah.
chronology of all that?
Well, I started the book. I always say it was really back in college, because that's when I really started to put it into an organized. I call it the book back then. It was just major topics. I had the 4 pillars, self, society, universe, and God, and I wrote in those different areas. So I've been writing on that pretty much my whole life. And before that, I had a bunch of notes in those areas, and that's where I kind of put it in that form. So yeah, I started the business in 1999, and I was writing all before that and up until then, and all the way through until the book came out in 2020. I kind of took off almost 5 years to actually finalize it. 2015 to 2020 is when I really focused on just writing the book. So it was a long time. I didn't really realize the way is what it was back in the day. It was really, like I said, the book, it had 4 pillars, but it was huge, and it was more like an encyclopedia of knowledge that nobody would probably ever read. So I wanted to put it in a way that people could understand it, and that was that huge breakthrough that I had in 2015 that I told you about.
And then when you had what you thought was a finished manuscript, could you walk us through, because there are aspiring authors who wonder, like, how and do I publish? Do I self-publish, hybrid publisher, traditional publisher? Could you just walk us through that
Sure.
process?
Well, one of the best programs I had to outline my book and take all the notes and the research was the program OneNote in Microsoft. And then what I did from there is I put it into my own book outline. And I really do advise you to do this if you're an author. Don't rely on the publisher to do this, because it's going to make a huge difference when you go through it and do it yourself. So I literally got a template, like you can get the size book you want, how the page is laid out, the spaces, everything. And then I put it in there, and I could see how the titles and the pages broke and the words. And I did all of that myself. And then when I shared it with the publisher, and I had a bad experience with my publisher. I went with a hybrid publisher. One lesson I would really like to convey to everybody is,
Sure.
before you sign any deal with any publisher, is meet the editor who's going to be working on your book. If you do not have a good editor, it doesn't matter. You can be with the best publisher in the world, but if you have a bad experience with your editor and they don't understand your topic and they start changing things in there because their lack of understanding and removing it, it's going to create a nightmare. And that's what I went through. So I had to really go through and really edit my own book and find my own people to do it, and pretty much everything there. And I don't want to go into the bad experience I had with my publisher, but it became a confrontation to some degree. I would also say, when you write your contracts, especially if you go with a major publisher, those contracts are always horrible. Like, they take the rights to your book. Anything that is along with that book, they have the right to change it, edit it. They get movie rights, they get everything. Make sure that you do not give all that up in the beginning. That's one of the reasons why I went with a hybrid publisher. So I would own the rights to the book and all the future earnings. I didn't really have an author platform that they talk about and all the rest. So I would say, do your research first, build your author platform. That's the social media, get some followings, give out pieces, go on shows. And then when you're looking for a publisher, meet your author or meet the editor. Make sure the contracts are solid and they protect you in the future. Like, one of the contracts I saw, they had the right to not only edit the final edit to the book, but they had the right to publish it or not. So they could have taken the book and never published it, and my whole work and my life would never have gotten out there. So just be really careful. There's a lot of other things I can help you with there.
And that's really two sound pieces of advice: that find the right person to work with as a book coach, as an editor, and also find the right publisher. So that's really illuminating and really helpful. So I'm curious then, since the book, could you tie in, because a lot of authors think I always say this, they're going to fly off the shelves, but you have to do some things on your own, which is publishing. And then what happens? Book launch and marketing and all those aspects of books.
When you go into this, you're ignorant, right? You don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know, right? So if you're an established, famous person, they will give you a marketing budget and they go out in there and help you usually. But if you're not, it's all up to you. So then, like you said, you have to do book launch. I was able to do it, and I got a bestseller on Amazon, but you have to do consistent marketing, and you don't make a lot on a book. So unless you sell millions of copies, you're not really going to make a living off of that. A lot of people write books to help support, another business around that, whether it be a coaching program or other online, events or whatever it may be that you can make money from, or to support your main business. So yeah, and I also have a foundation that's kind of behind the book that I'm working on getting started, the 7 Foundation. It's about helping everybody become their best, starting a community that's going to combine my work, helping people become financially independent, as well as helping them become their best selves and all of that. So I just say that because I want authors to think about this as not just a book. You're packaging kind of a whole, I don't know, community or a system or something for people to dive into. So you can, if you're looking to make money off of that and live. So.
And then in your case, you have a business, but I agree, because a lot of authors don't realize it. Then there are speaking tours, there's webinars, there's other ways of making money from a book, not just the book sales itself, but
Yes.
It also increases your business. You can do more clients, you get clients coming to you, charge higher fees and other things like that. But you tie it into your business, which is really an effective way to be an author.
Yeah, I didn't actually do that in the beginning. I was kind of semi-retired. I did pretty well. My whole idea is helping people, and I have agents that work for me, and I help them set up residual income streams for bringing clients certain, services through our vendors. And the residual income streams is really where it's at if you're working. You don't want to work for the rest of your life for the hours. And if you're a business that's always having to find new customers, that's kind of what you're doing. But if you're setting up a recurring residual income stream where you can set it up once and you get paid forever, that is the best type of money to make. And when I first started, I was doing great, but then COVID hit, right? Destroyed a lot of businesses in America, and that, so I had to kind of go back to work in the sense of helping others build this, I don't know, residual income stream, and then tying it to my book. So I did not start that way, but I'm doing that more. And I find it, and the reason I separated the two was because it was a little different. Like, it's not a business book, right? This isn't a book about, you know, building your company or anything like that. It's really personal and about your self-growth in our society. And then people kept saying to me, like, hey, I really liked your book in my business. And I was like, oh, you read my book? Oh, I got to merge this together. So don't feel like you need to keep things separated, even if it's a little different. It does apparently help you gain credibility.
Yeah.
And people like to know that you have something else going on besides just your work, right? So anyway, I was a little shy on that when I first started.
Well, you had talked about some other streams. I think a lot of authors would be interested. What sort of streams have been successful, and what kind of recurring revenue do you have?
Yeah, well, that's all through the business. If you look, like the government, pretty much all the optimization services I have that I list on the website in the beginning are all recurring residual income streams. So the first step of me working with a company is to identify them, like just optimizing a credit card processing. You know, I get paid by the vendor. They don't ever pay me. And that's the thing about most of my services too. I introduce them to a vendor. That's with a joke, right? Ace, who knows all the jacks and all the trades. I introduce them to the right vendor. They do a deal with them, and then the vendor ends up paying me. Tech is another one. I deal with a lot of different tech vendors and brokers, and has tech. Everybody needs tech, and it needs to be upgraded. And you don't even know. And so you get in there with somebody who knows AI, knows surveillance systems, knows your cloud services, whatever it is, and can walk you through it and then help you integrate it. That's a wonderful service, and those vendors end up paying us residual income streams. So if people are interested in learning about that, I have business owners that use my services to recommend to their clients so they can make that money. I have agents that just do nothing but represent Consulting Ace as a service and go out there and help companies onboard some of these. So if you're interested, you can just go to the website, contact me, and we can help you get started.
Well, we've heard a little bit about your background, the process of writing your book, and the consulting, and the things that you do, and who you work with. And you just mentioned it. So now I'm sure we got people who are curious, like, what do you offer? What services, and how do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of the book, and what can you provide? What type of services? How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Probably the easiest way, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, I'm there. My name, Andrew Calderella, is pretty unique. You can search for that and find me everywhere. My main websites are consultingace.com, that's ACE, and the other one is 7wayme, that's the number 7, WAY.me. And I named it that because it's kind of easy to remember. It's like 7wayme, so you're getting all this good stuff and you're going there. Those are the two main websites. And then from there, you'll find the communities just being built. It's going to be the ACE community. ACE stands for Abundance Creates Empowerment. It also works the other way. Empowerment creates abundance. It's the idea of creating or giving people all this abundance, right? So we can empower them to do good things in the world. So just look me up. I'm all over the place. I have my websites. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Facebook and the others. I haven't worked with them a little bit. I lost my social media manager a little while ago, but I'll get back and doing that again soon.
And the book, where's the book available?
Everywhere in the world, pretty much every store. Obviously on Amazon it's there, but Barnes and Noble, everywhere you search online, you can find it. It's called The Way. You search for my name, 7 Revolutionary Steps to Living a Meaningful Life and Making a Real Difference in the World.
Well, Andrew, I know you're a really busy individual and you have a lot to share, but thank you for taking out some time today. I appreciate your time, and maybe I can convince you to come back sometime too. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us today. I appreciate it.
You bet. So lots of things you can learn from Andrew and other people, because I want this to be a podcast which is inspirational and informative. And, if you want to know more about my own background, I have Burning America and On Track Ian Hunter available at Amazon. And I work with coaches and CEOs, business leaders of one sort or another who have a book and have an idea. So I usually say I'm the idea to author coach, because I've written my own books and I've got help for others as well, too. If you want to connect with me, connect on LinkedIn, G. Mick Smith, the Doctor of Digital, and also listen to the next episode. So until the next episode, this is Doctor of Digital signing off. Till then, Deus Volt.